right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to lunch here on Backstage Hall Pass with Hall Around Town Radio. I am so thrilled. Let me tell you, guys, our guest today is a singer-songwriter who's obviously known for his time as the founding vocalist and lyricist for the band Queensryche, and now having an amazingly solo career. He's considered one of heavy metal's most technically accomplished singers, and thankfully he's still out there making music today. And help me welcome to the program the incredible Geoff Tate. How you doing, Geoff?
Well, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on your show.
Well, thanks for being here. You're getting ready to do a date here in Cincinnati, and we're going to talk about that at the end of the program today. But you're all over the country, and I appreciate you being here. It's such an honor to speak with you. And we've got limited time, so I want to get right to it today. I want to talk about you for a minute and connecting with you and how you ever got started in the music business. What was it, family influences? How'd you get going in this business?
Gosh, well, I grew up with music. I think 9 years old when I first started playing piano. And then I went into school band, which we had back then in those days. And I was in school band all the way up through high school, and just developed a real interest, in music, and started experimenting with my own music and writing music and working with people that were writing music at the time. And I hooked up with some like-minded people, and we formed Queensryche, and we got a record deal. We just kept going, for 30 plus years. We wrote some really interesting music and played all over the world, and I'm still continuing that on my own now, which I find incredibly satisfying. It's a wonderful life, and I'm so happy that I first heard Jefferson Airplane on the radio when I was like 8.5 years old.
There you go.
It set me on a path,
Did you have a day like where this big thing went off in your head that said, I want to do this professionally? I mean, or did it just kind of come natural? What occurred there?
Yeah, I think it kind of came naturally. I followed my interest, really. And I had such a strong passion for music that I didn't think of anything else, but I didn't know how to get to, professional level. It just sort of happened through constant work at it, and hooking up with the right people and being in the right place at the right time. We were incredibly lucky as Queensryche. I mean, we got signed in I think August of '83, and we hadn't even played shows, and it just we had the strength of our 4-song EP. It sold really well. We started our own record company at that time, and it sold really well, and all the record companies were sort of interested in seeing what they could do with it, And we chose EMI, of course, because the Beatles were on EMI, and that was our philosophy, at least.
Well, I think you chose right. I mean, it sounds like it. You did some great things back in the 80s and early 90s, and I really admire you when I see other interviews that you've done. I admire that you say that your musical history and history with the band is all out there on the internet, whether it be true or false, and that it's not something now to really dwell on. It happened way in the past, and you're doing great things today. And I want to focus more on your writing, your inspiration, because you had some crazy lyrics in there, man. I listened to your songs, and there's some deep lyrics that go into Queensryche tunes, and your songs today even they just hit home with a lot of people, I think, and it's amazing to me how that works.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, and I want to know the power of MTV. Let's stay back in time for just a minute. I remember watching MTV and seeing Eyes of a Stranger video come on, and I literally had to go to my local record store and buy the album. Okay. I mean, I did. It was like, I've got to go get that album. That video was insane on MTV. Did MTV really spark things for you? It did for so many artists.
Yeah, I think it really did. We had a lot of support from MTV early on, and they really were an incredibly powerful medium at the time. And you can see it from our experience. We went from, selling, to 250,000 albums to a gold record because of that video of Eyes of a Stranger. You know, and it happened in a matter of a couple weeks. You know, so
Right.
it was incredibly powerful, and I have to say it was a really great video. I think at the time Mark Wachowski is the one that put that one together for us, and it really had kind of its own, I don't know, sort of sophisticated, elegant, but yet dark and kind of disturbing message to it. You know, that we tried to sort of keep with our videos that came after that. We tried to keep that same sort of delivery. But funny, with that video for Eyes of a Stranger, it took everything we had to make that video. We went into massive debt to make that video, to put it up there and take our chance, you know, as they say. And it worked out well for us.
So many bands did that in the 80s to get on MTV, and they scraped their piggy banks together and anything else they could get to make a video, and it paid off. I mean, it did. It did for you guys, obviously. And it was like nothing else. That was the thing that hit me. It was like nothing else I was seeing on MTV at the time when I saw that video, and that's what made me want to go out and buy the album. It's just cool. And Geoff, I know you have a very strong work ethic. Right? You are heavy into touring. I understand that you don't really even take a lot of time off. You just keep that tour grinding and all that. How do you do so many dates?
Well, I feel better when I work. You know,
Right.
I feel stronger the more you know, the more I sing, the more we perform, and yeah, you just get to a level, I guess, of performance that you try to get there at least, where it's easy for you, you know, to keep doing it, and that's kind of what happens, I think, if you stay at it every day. You know, we try to take one day off to give the crew a rest, but yeah, we do 6 shows a week basically, and the tour never ends really, because where one tour ends, the other one begins a couple days later. You know, like from
Right.
our American tour, we head over to Europe and Ireland in particular, to start there right after. I think we have 3 days off or something like that, travel time, you know, to get there.
Well,
Yeah,
I did a little
I like to
homework,
keep
by
it.
the way. I did some homework, and you've done 67 countries, I believe,
Yeah.
at this point. And the last time I caught you when you came through Cincinnati at the Blue Note, it was such high energy that night. And how do you maintain that performance level every night? Because you just came out there and slayed the crowd. It was insane, the amount of energy in that room.
Well, I have to sort of give credit to the audience. Really, the audience really pushes me over the top. Um, I try to kind of maintain a certain performance level, but I can really be swayed by the audience, and I have to. Well, I have to discipline myself, because sometimes I'll just give in to, like, a Sunday night crowd is oftentimes less energetic than a Saturday night audience, you know.
Right.
And I'm like everyone. I get kind of lulled into the Sunday doldrums where you just want to, like, lay on the sofa and watch TV. You know,
I got it.
it's hard to work on a Sunday, right? But over the years, I've just sort of disciplined myself to do it, and and I feed off the audience. You know, I really do. I feed off their energy, and if they're excited, it makes me excited.
Well, I'm glad you said that about the audience, because one thing I noticed that night, and you have your standards that everybody knows and all that when you play, but you did Jet City Woman, everyone in the room singing every word of the song. And then you went into Silent Lucidity, and you could have heard a pin drop in the room. You had that much control over that audience. And what do you think about the original fans from back in the 80s who are bringing their kids to the show now? And the kids are singing their kids are singing all the lyrics. I mean, I noticed that as well. These young people, they love you, man. They really do.
Yeah, it's a whole different kind of thing. I had a funny conversation with one of the kids of one of my original old fans the other day, and she said, "Well, I really didn't have a choice. I had to listen to your music, and I had to become a fan because, well, my parents were." And she said, "I've been listening to you since I was in the womb."
That's funny. But that's so true. Those kids were raised right, Geoff. They were raised right. And those songs are over 30 years old, you know, some of them. And these kids were singing along. It was just such a nice night there with you. And I loved your storytelling a little bit about the songs. And you never seem to overdo that, but you like to talk history some. And I understand that your current band you've put together, and I've seen them now, like I said, here in Cincinnati. They'll be back this weekend at Ludlow Garage. This band is from all over the world. I mean, these guys,
Yeah.
you've gathered a group of musicians. How did you pull that off too?
Well, traveling, you know, I meet a lot of people, and I have a wonderful band. I have kind of a slightly augmented band than I had last year when I came through town. I have a Brazilian. I have two Irishmen. I have a Scotsman, and I have a Frenchman. And Danny, my drummer, who is from Cincinnati, Danny Cincinnati Laverde, and I are the only two Americans. So it's quite a band. Very interesting bunch of people.
Well, I have to give props to
and
Danny. I've watched. Go ahead, and I'll give Danny's
I'm sorry.
props in a minute.
I have an Italian guitar player too. I forgot about Dario. How could I forget?
There you go. Well, and that's neat in itself to see those guys up there playing with you. And I want to give Danny props because I've watched Danny play for the last several years as he's grown in his career, and what a stellar drummer he is, an amazing kid. And
he's probably the best drummer I've ever played with at this point in his life already. You know, he's very young.
I love it.
Still just killer drummer.
And a great person too. And that's what I like about Danny. And he's one of those, and he was kind of instrumental in connecting us here and making this happen today. And of course, Danny's family and extended musical family in Cincinnati, they're going to be out to see him this weekend. You know, they'll all be there and having a great time with you at the Ludlow Garage. So Geoff, you're touring all the time, 67 countries, you're all over the place. What do you do when you're not playing music and you're out there seeing the world?
Well, my wife and I were laughing. We spent 10 days sleeping in our own bed last year.
Wow.
10 days. Yeah. So we are always on the go. A couple of years ago, we started a really interesting kind of side business called Backstage Travel, where we take groups of people on travel trips where we go. And we have two Italy trips. We have a France trip. We have 2 Ireland trips, a Scottish trip. We have a Montana trip. We have a New Orleans trip that's coming up. It's really interesting. We take people sightseeing, and it's surrounded by music. There's music every night. We play music. We take over pubs, and we play music in the pub while everybody drinks and watches this and has a great time. It's a fun thing to do, and people seem to really enjoy it, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
And Geoff, we just got a really interesting question. I want to try to fit it in here from one of our viewers. It says, what do you do to care for your voice, your range and frequency, and has to require something secret, they say, to keep that voice. And I will say your voice when I heard you in Cincinnati, it was as good as it was in the 80s, man. In fact, better, I think, at times. You really were giving it your all.
Well, I try to keep in good physical shape. That's first and foremost. You have to do that as a singer. You got to get plenty of sleep. It's really boring stuff. It's basically body maintenance, keep yourself healthy. Also, you try to hire the best sound man you can afford. It makes a huge difference because you may be singing your guts out every night, but the audience may not be getting that same performance because of the sound man. The sound man is the link between you as the musician and the audience. And if they don't know what they're doing, they can bury you or make you sound ineffective, or they basically can kill your career, basically. So I try to hire the best people I can find, and that seems to work for me.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that, because I've always said that no matter how great the artist is, the sound man's the most important guy in the room, and he really
is. It really is. And you have no idea as a performer what you sound like ever.
Right.
Isn't that just it's the cruel world we live in, as musicians.
what's in
completely
your
dependent
ears.
upon our
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah. What's going on in your ears is not necessarily hitting the crowd. And,
Exactly.
Geoff, you put on a wonderful show, and I've got a couple minutes left here. Let me hit this one. How do you decide the set list? Is it a set list that goes city to city, or is it unpredictable? Can, you see Geoff one night and the next night and see something different?
Well, it depends on a couple things. Last year, we were performing the 30-year anniversary of the Empire album. And we thought, well, okay, that's 60 minutes, so we need to add something else. Well, why not do the Rage for Order album, because it's a shorter album and it's an interesting record, and the two are kind of, well, diametrically opposed. They're different, really different records, And so we did that for, well, it turned out to be like a 2-year tour because of COVID and everything. But this year, we don't have any 30th anniversaries to celebrate with the music, so we're playing what I call the big rock show, which is every song in the set was a video or a single for me or Queensryche at the time. And so it's a very familiar set list for people that have followed me for years. They'll know every song, and it's really gone over well. It's fantastic to play, and it covers 30, 40 years of music, in the hour and 45 minutes that we play.
Well, it's an incredible show, and I can't encourage our viewers enough. If you have not seen this current tour with Geoff Tate, go see it. It's Ludlow Garage this weekend on Sunday, 7:30 start time. There's limited tickets available to that show. I believe it's going to sell out, so get your tickets if you want to go see Geoff. We'll mention that again at the end. Geoff, you're writing an autobiography. Is it close to being done?
Well, I keep thinking it's done. But my publisher has other ideas, so I have to get it past them first. They keep scratching stuff out and saying, no, you can't say that.
and you're doing wine too, right? Do you have a wine line?
Yes, I do I'm a vintner. Yeah, we make Insania brand wine. It's a red Pinot Noir and a white Pinot Grigio, and it's made in the Alsace region of Germany and France, right there on the border, and it's wonderful.
I think I have a picture. Maybe I can pop up here. Let's see. Yeah, there you are. All right, yeah. Check that out. So you can find that out there as well, folks. And one more thing I want to touch on here. Where do you find the time? I mean, you are one of the busiest touring acts I know. How do you really manage that time? You say you're out there doing pub takeovers and you're traveling and you're seeing things. Do you ever stop and just rest?
When I have to.
Because I know you had some surgery recently, and that wasn't an easy one for you. You had to make a significant comeback from that.
I did. Last year I had heart surgery. And funny thing was, I didn't know I had a problem. But I just went in for a checkup, and they said, "Oh, yeah, you got a problem." And I had to go in for heart surgery. I had it done in Germany at an amazing facility there. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks recovery. And then it took me about 6 months before I could feel comfortable enough to sing a song. For the first few weeks, I could barely even hold my breath, But it's all kicked in really well now, and I feel, honestly, 20 years younger. I feel great.
Well, outstanding. Anything else you want to share with the audience today while you're here? I know you're at a limited time today, so we'll try to fit it all in.
I just say thanks for the continued interest and support people have shown me for years now, and we have a great time at the shows, and I hope to see everybody out on the tour this year in America. It's fantastic. It's really great to see everybody.
Geoff, I thank you so much for spending time with us today here at All Around Town Radio. This Sunday, Geoff Tate's Big Rock Show, Ludlow Garage in Cincinnati, 7:30. Like I said, it's nearing a sellout, so pick up your tickets ASAP to that if you want to get to that show on Sunday. Geoff, thank you so much for being a guest on our show today.
Thank you. I really enjoyed myself, and thanks again.
And have a great rest of your tour. Thank you, folks, for watching today. You've been watching All Around Town Radio here from the All Around Town Radio studios. Thanks, folks. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.